Oh, I better close this door.
I'll get that one behind you there.
How are you,
Okay.
Merv?
We're live.
We're good to go?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're gonna call this meeting to order. Are there any additions to the agenda? We're gonna start with Brent. Nope. Jack,
Nope.
Merv,
The only item I have is a letter from Colin Barrow. If anybody wants further information on that, I can give it. If you want to talk to it later, I can explain what's going on, or if you don't understand what's going on there. But anyway, that's the only issue I have.
okay, thanks, Merv. Jen?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Can I get a confirmation of the agenda? Brent? All in favor? Is there any pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none? Can I get an approval of the minutes for December 16th, 2020? I'm going to go with Brent again because I can't see anybody else right at this point in time. All in favor?
Oh, sorry.
No problem. Yeah. And I see we have no delegations. So I think we can probably bring Darrell on at this point in time. Darrell's ready to go.
Hello. Hey, Daryl. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Daryl.
Okay, Darrell, whatever you're
Okay.
ready. Yeah.
Same old, same old. We've started our yearly reports for 2020. And we're still working on our license. We're working on the operational plan now and a few things like that. We had a water line, as everyone knows, down the street here that blew off. I sent you a picture. We had a pump fail and the sewage plant's been pretty decent. Everything's going there, not too bad. Did you see the picture?
I was going to ask you, Darrell, on that picture, there was looked like an overabundance of corrosion at the top of the saddle. Is that what that was? Was corrosion, or what was that big blob underneath the fitting on the top?
That's corrosion and oxidization from the ground around. And something that they did years ago, they always grounded the electrical to the water lines. There's a big cable down in the ground that runs along the side, and they attach it to the copper, and I think that gives an electrical charge there, which then causes grief further on. So I just sent you a picture. The one on the right and the one on the left are how they're supposed to look, and the one in the middle, the only thing that was holding it in the ground was just the weight on top of that big blob.
So my question to you, Darrell, is how many other saddles are under our ground that are in that kind of shape?
I'm not going to answer that. It's hard to say. This is like 55 years old. So anything that's going to be around 50 and up, we could have that. It doesn't happen all over, but it all depends on how they backfilled and so on. And it's not the main that's causing the grief. It's just the different metals that are on these saddles. Because how these are installed, I should have put the other half of it on. There's a clamp that goes around and goes up through those holes, and it's tightened in. We don't use them anymore. all the ones we have are stainless steel band, which is like only maybe 1/8 of an inch thick at the most, but they have a rubber completely encased inside them. So we just take these out as we find them, and I don't know how many there'd be. It's hard to say.
No, definitely the dissimilar metals, I can see that being the issue. It's like when you have your aluminum and steel on vehicles per se, the aluminum will just disintegrate.
Oxidize. Yeah.
Oxidize, absolutely.
Right.
I'm just wondering, Daryl, if that's something that, how do we nip this in the bud is the kind of the question, or do we just do it on a case by case basis and replace
Well, I
it
think-
as you go?
I kind of think you're going to have to go case by case right now, but something that should be looked at is the next time maybe the connecting link is being done, that maybe you go in, part of the contract would be go in and change the services. So, and then
Okay.
because they're just not they're very poorly put in. And that's the actual piece of pipe that was servicing. Like they shouldn't have that sharp bend in it like that and stuff like that. And they kink them and they backfill with rock that's been blasted, and the sharp rock rubs against it and wears through and so on and so forth.
I think I've seen Jack had his hand up. Jack, did you have something?
I was just going to comment on the similar metals. I've had that experience before where I used to work, and because of the age of these, Daryl, you're going to be continuing to see these fail on you. And just the sad part is there'll come a time when the majority of them are going to fail within
That's
a
right.
year. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's what's going to happen. So,
Yeah.
like you say, if we can survive till we do the connecting link again, then we can go and do that. But
That's
You-
right.
I take it you have a lot of saddles and stuff in stock in case these do fail, right?
Yes, yeah. Especially this strip here, and we've done a lot of them already. But there's still a lot. We're still probably only have about 30% of them done. But in 1 year, we lost like maybe 10 leaks up the street here.
Yeah.
So,
Only on Christmas Eve would you lose a water pump, Daryl. Only.
yeah.
So as far as budget goes, how are you for this for your budget?
Oh, it's fine. It'll be fine.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
not a large, it's a submersible. They haven't priced it back yet, but we're probably $5,000 or $6,000, maybe 10 at the most. So,
Thank you.
yep.
So anybody have anything else for Daryl on his report? Seeing none there, Daryl.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
We're a little bit early for Jason, but I see he's with us there, so I think we can bring Jason on. How you doing, Jason?
Good. Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
So we have had some offers on some of the surplus equipment. We had 2 offers on the float. One was significantly lower than the one that I think that we should accept. And the snowplow, we only had the one bid on that. If council would
Need direction, Mr. Chair.
consider these.
So, yeah, so we, I'd just like to know if everybody would like to proceed, or everybody good to proceed with what we've got for offers? I see a show of hands to say they agree with the proposal.
Good.
Jen, yes,
Thank you.
Jack? Herb?
Yes,
Everybody's
yes,
good
I
to
agree.
go on that, Jason?
Okay, great, thank you.
Can
Now
you not see us?
There's about a 5-second lag on from what I can hear and from what I can see on the screen. So there's a bit of a lag. So when you put your hand up, it's about 5 seconds later that I can actually see you put your hand up. So I'm going a lot off of the audio and not off the visual at this point in time.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Now, the rest of the surplus equipment, I'm gonna have to do some more research and try and put them onto some other sites or something to try and get rid of this equipment. It's just gonna fall apart if we leave it sit. So I'll have to do some more homework.
Well, eventually, Jason, what'll probably happen if it doesn't move, it's basically how much does it weigh, you know, and that's what we end up getting to, right? If it sits around too long, then it seizes up and are totally useless to anybody. So absolutely, if you can move that ahead is what direction you think should be taken. I think we all appreciate that.
Great, perfect, thank you. Excuse me. On December 11th, I spoke with Sean Cameron, RPG, about the water levels on Lake Clear. So I have now access to the grids. They can be checked every week, or roughly a month, every week. The water levels are at normal, what we consider normal right now. Like Sean had mentioned that, you know, even if we did the dredging in between the two lakes, it's just going to snowball effect down the creek. So that's his opinion, because if you look at from Little Lake Clear to Manning Road, it's very flat, it's full of sand, and he's got a good point. It's still going to hold it back to a certain degree. Yes, Merv.
Did you ask the other question, rather than dredging, suction, would that make it environmentally more friendly to them? Or did you ever get the suction?
I didn't get talking to, I got handed off to another person at MNR, Corey Bourgeois, and I have not got in contact with them. The lady that I was talking to there, they were worried about the certain species in the lake, because the lake has low oxygen levels, and you know there could be, with the sediment coming out of the dredging or the suction, is where they're having problems with probably giving us the go ahead.
But if you started on the lower side and worked up, the water flows away from the lake. It shouldn't flow too much damage to the lake.
That's exactly right, Merv. That's exactly the only problem where there would be problems is where we have to unload the material, because the shoreline all around the lake is so shallow.
Yeah.
There would have to be a dock put out, because they need a minimum of about 2 meter draft. So, you know, to get that distance out would be a quite significant dock. And then you'd have to have an excavator and everything else on the end of it too, right? Because we wouldn't be able to just push the sand or shoot the sand onto the shoreline, because it's private property.
You'd have to truck it away.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I will definitely dig into it a little more for sure.
One question, or maybe from some clarification there, Jason, on this whole dredging deal between the two. The settlement, or what is causing the issue between the 2 points, that's natural occurring sediment coming in, is it not?
Yes.
So for the most part, isn't it? I know in the forest industry, for the most part, usually nature dictates the path taken on things that we do. Is it one of those things where we have to let nature run its course on this?
Well, the problem right now, Tim, is there's there's so much sediment and sticks mixed together in that alleyway that I don't really know if nature could do anything with it, because you've got, you know, so many bends in the creek between the two that, you know, what happens in a bend, right? It builds up there because the direction changes, and then it dumps sediment off, right?
Okay.
Yes, Merv.
Merv, I think you had-
Just to kind of answer Tim's question, I'll show my age. When I was young, there's actually boathouses between Lake Clear Road and the lake. As you know, we've had to put boulders in to stop erosion, so all that soil had to go someplace. And, and probably a lot of it is in the creek there now.
So how far out, Merv, would the shoreline have been at previous?
Oh, quite a ways. You had a boathouse between you, Terrace Park between it. Oh, 50 feet maybe.
Really?
Oh yeah, there's quite a green belt there. And I remember boathouses being there. Yeah. So all that had to go somewhere. And that's why we put the rock in there because it was going to erode the road.
Right.
It was going to take the road.
But my point being, to the creek, isn't that a process due to natural erosion though? And is there, you know, even if we dredge it, I know you're not gonna see a whole pile more silt coming from a certain location, but there definitely will be an influx of silt still coming down the creek in years to come, right?
Yes. Yes.
What you're
So
saying, Tim,
the last time that was dredged was in the early 50s, earliest to mid 50s.
Okay.
Wow.
I thought it would fill in faster than that.
Jack?
Yeah, it's good. It's coming to the point there now where we're starting to see significant increase each year. And it'd be something that we should continue trying to see what we can do, because it's going to come to a point where it's going to have a huge impact, you know, on the rocks we put up there and everything, because it's going to back up, like you say, the sticks and everything are going to continue to hold it back. And once it becomes a point where it's actually going to start building berms in the creek, and then you know what you got. You only got the rush of the spring that's taking it away. And then, you know, and then you'll be right back to where you are. So it's something that I wouldn't walk away from, Jason. I continue to investigate and see what we can do. And, you know, and then we'll have to just make a decision based on what we can do and what kind of financing is available and what the M&R is willing for us to do.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know that RPG will not assist in it.
No, they won't.
Go ahead, Jim.
So now knowing that it was dredged in the 50s and now needs something done, I agree. I think that we need to continue to look into things. But we also, are we concerned, or would M&RF be concerned about downstream habitats? So we're worried about the habitats in Lake Clear and Little Lake Clear, but you're also talking the rest of the watershed. So I think that that's something that we have to be cognizant of.
Yes.
That was the point I was coming at, because every time you basically touch one point of a water system, you're impacting another point. And that, you know, one thing I've learned over the years, like I say, working in the forest industry, there's so much care and things that have to be done when we even cross a creek that isn't even flowing, because it can have effects somewhere else in the runoff, maybe not this year, but maybe in 10 years. And what I've seen in 2019, I watched in Petawawa, for instance, the Petawawa River take out a spot at the bridge, the Remax building, right? It washed, eroded that shoreline, that sand, silt, whatever you want to call it, all ended up downstream. But that's also, for the most part, a natural cycle of the way things are. And one thing that I've learned over the years is you got to be very careful on when you start imposing yourself on basically Mother Nature's ways as well, because nature usually finds a way somehow And there's only so much, we can do to impact that without having further impacts downstream. And that's one thing I just want to be careful of. And I'm sure that's why it's not as easy as just going in and digging the cell out again, right? So there's a lot more to this process than just keeping it away from certain areas and protecting our assets, so to speak. There's other impacts that this is definitely going to have.
Yes, for sure. Because if you read that letter, you're dealing with the Ministry of Conservation and Parks, species at risk. So there you're dealing with Department of Fisheries and Oceans. So I don't know if there would have to be a study done beforehand, before they would even look at giving us any permits or any go-aheads at all.
I would think several studies, actually.
Yes,
There'd be studies done from different groups.
exactly. But we should, if this is something we want to go ahead with, then it's time to get that going, because I don't know how long these studies would take.
Years.
Exactly.
Well, absolutely, and that's something I think we definitely have to initiate sooner than later, because we do know that this is going to take some time to do so. Like I say, though, just pointing out see what things actually naturally transpire in different areas. I'm sure that they're going to have to open this up and have a really extensive look at it for sure.
Yes.
I think we should be on the lookout for the possibility of any federal or provincial money coming up. Because it's going to cost a fortune.
Always, yep.
Anything else on that, guys? We're good to go there, Jason.
No, hang on.
Hey, Jen.
Oh,
Go ahead there, Jen.
not that this is your responsibility, Jason, nor is it, all of council. But we do have a missing dog from Lake Clear. I don't know if you've heard or not. She looks like a shepherd mix. Her name is Clara. The owners are on Manning Road. So I just thought if the guys are out and they happen to spot her, because your guys are out and about more than anybody. Just the owner, we've had it on Facebook, on It Takes a Village, on my own personal page. The owner actually just showed up here not long before our council meeting started. So, just as a courtesy, if they spot her.
Yes. Okay. Sounds good, Jen.
And all of council, I mean, if you're out and about and you see her, it's such a shame. She's been missing since New Year's Eve.
Okay.
Thanks, Jay.
All right.
Okay. Anything else for Jason? No, I think you're good to go, Jason. Thanks very much.
Perfect.
Happy New Year again.
Oh,
Yep.
I'm
see
going
you
to have
guys.
to mute here because Dave's in the house. You're going to get a reverb.
Okay, if we want to move right along, Dave, if you're ready to go.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Sorry, it's a little dark in the back room here. I've got all the lights on, but we ready?
We're good to go, Dave.
Okay, so we wrapped up 2020 with 60 calls. That was our final number. I've got that year in the books now with the OFM. So not the worst year we've had, but also not the best. But I'm just thankful that December was slow for us. Nothing major happened, so I was happy to see that. Everybody had a event-free holiday, Christmas holiday anyway. Us including the ratepayers. We are slowly building up our numbers. We're up to 27 now with the department. I do have a few more applications that I'm going to start looking at, and hopefully we'll have enough to have a recruit course come up shortly in the beginning of February. I think what we want to do is we're going to wait to ride this lockdown out before we bring any new people into the fray. I think our work bubble and our family bubble at the fire department has worked out very well. We've had no issues at all since this pandemic started, which I'm very happy for. We have lots of PPE, and we've continued to keep it hand sanitizers, gloves, masks in all the vehicles. So you guys have done the very good job keeping healthy and keeping safe, which is good. Our annual equipment testing and certifications commencing very shortly. February and March it starts, so that's our our usual vicious circle of fairly major expense that has to happen, which is something that we budget for every year. I did write down here that we're working on the Bonnechere Valley Community Risk Assessment. That I'll have that definitely done this year. That was something that I think we talked about before, and then with our efficiency conversation going into looking at a fire master plan. So that I'll definitely have that finished this year. And finally, the most important thing for me right now is that the contractor that was supposed to do the estimates for us and the options with regards to the Flymount Fire Hall, he got behind at the mid to end of December, so he wasn't able to visit me up there and go over options and estimates. He assures that I'll have that for February's council meeting, so that'll be a discussion item. At least gives us an idea right now what our options could be and potential costs. I know we're looking at a couple of years down the road, probably before we have to start looking at doing anything, but at least we'll know. We'll have an idea. And who knows, between now and then, building material prices, they could be lower or they could be higher yet if this pandemic keeps marching along. So that's definitely up in the air right now as far as costs go. But other than that, I have nothing else new.
Okay, any questions for Dave? Murph?
I had something I'd written down. Are we interested in that antigen screening? And I think I know Dave's feelings on it from his report that I read.
Yeah, that was put out kind of as a pilot in December, and there really wasn't a lot of appetite for it. I think the departments have their own health and safety protocols, and the amount of reporting that was going to be somebody's job, or another full-time job to actually manage that pilot program and all the reporting that was required. I think that's why the appetite was not there for it. And like I said, there was one department involved, but it was a part of a bigger municipal plan. So the department weren't the ones that were doing the reporting and the record keeping and whatnot. So plus I think that's more geared to a bigger municipality, maybe a larger city, right? So.
And we're pretty good in our area.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, and hopefully it stays like that.
Yeah.
In the next month or so coming forward. Also, another thing that I actually wanted to mention, I did have a conversation with Annette. I guess municipalities are asking around whether their fire departments are actually physically training right now. My answer to her was that right now, where our plan is to, but our first practical, actual in-person training for January is actually at the end of the month, this turnaround, and it's going to be a joint training. So depending on where we are with our lockdown and with the restrictions, if there's further restrictions toward after this one that we're currently in, then we'll probably postpone that one, and we'll see what happens in February. But I don't want to, put out the wrong message by gathering in a large group. If the province is suggesting that we modify things, so perception is a lot to do with it as well. Even though I know we can do it safely, I just want to make sure that we look like we're doing it safely. So.
Okay, anything further for Dave? Okay, Dave, well, thanks very much, and
thank you. Take care.
Happy New Year.
Is everybody still good? Can we move on to correspondence? Does anybody need a break?
No, I just grabbed a water while Dave was getting set up there. Sorry.
No problem.
I needed some water.
So, moving on to correspondence. Does anybody have anything to discuss or on the correspondence?
Didn't see anything that made me jump up and down.
I had a couple of things actually. Number one, the memo from General Hillier has actually sort of changed again through this lockdown, which I will discuss in my mayor's report, just the changes to the vaccine protocol. So that, I mean, that's going to be a moving target. But I think that we really should discuss this letter, this legal opinion that the purported LCPOA commissioned, and now it has come to our attention that it was actually the president of the LCPOA. This was not voted on by the LCPOA. I don't know who paid for it, but there seems to be a contradiction, and perhaps I need Mark to weigh in on this. It says that they shouldn't be used for primary residence or for permanent human habitation, but they're not being used for permanent. They're being used for seasonal. I can't imagine anybody, and maybe I'm incorrect. Maybe I am. I can't imagine anybody that's living on one of our lakes, living in one of these over the winter time. Again, I could be wrong, but I wanted to open it up to discussion because this is a bit of a problem if the entire membership didn't vote on hiring this lawyer. And again, I don't know who paid for it, and perhaps it was all done above board, but I do know that there wasn't a vote on it at their AGM. So I just wanted to open that up. And of course, we got another email later last night that I've put on the agenda for our January 20th meeting that again seems to speak to a few things that don't seem exactly in what the flavor of what we were saying going ahead with this bylaw were. So I think we need to have that discussion when we bring that piece of correspondence forward. But I would open it up to discussion about this legal opinion from their lawyer or from her lawyer.
No, Jen, I agree with what you said, and I don't think at any point we ever clarified or made the intention that we were talking about permanent dwellings or an RV acting as a permanent dwelling. We never discussed that at this table or anything, and that's not the intention of a recreational bylaw. If it was a permanent dwelling or structure, then it would fall within the CBO's rights, and that, as you said, maybe Mark should weigh in on aspects of this. But I think we've made our intention quite clear that this is pertaining to, say, seasonal use, or the person has a recreational vehicle that maybe they pull it to another lake or they have it on the property. But our whole intention was that, or in my opinion, my opinion was that it's a recreational vehicle, it's a vehicle, and it is not a structure, and it's never intended to be someone's permanent dwelling. And if it is someone's permanent dwelling, then in my opinion, then that would fall to the CBO's direction, because if it is, then it has to have some form of fixtures or something that makes it a structure. And that's something that obviously we would have to look into as a municipality. But my whole intention when we always reviewed this bylaw was that it's a recreational vehicle. And I believe, and I stand by the bylaw that we are reviewing and we're doing public consultations for.
Yeah, I think, if I may, Mr. Chair, I think when I read this, I mean, when you ask for a legal opinion, you're asking a fairly direct question. And I think that there are some nuances in this opinion that aren't exactly in line with what we were saying as a council. Perhaps, if I may, should we table this to our January 20th meeting and ask Mark to weigh in on it? Would that suit everybody?
Yeah.
I think it'll suit Jen, and just to add to the conversation, Yeah, we were defining what an RV is in our bylaws. So if it falls into any other criteria where they have attachments, and definitely so if someone's using it year round, I would see them having a very hard time in doing so without having hooked up in some way, shape or form to services, right? Because let's not forget we live in Canada here. So it would have to definitely be hooked up to something or whatnot and fall into our building code and not just what the RV is. So I think they've went in a different direction than what we were putting in forward. I see Jack had something first and then Murph.
Yeah, I just want to bring up the section too about Lake Clear being at capacity, and then they go on and say this designation was done in the mid 1980s, which is fine. The question I'd like to know, and then hopefully we can get from our building inspector or whatever, is how many, since the 1980s, how many of our so-called buildings have been tore down, enhanced, made bigger, enlarged, whatever. If they're shouting about RVs affecting the capacity at the lake, rebuilding and tearing down and making summer cottages into permanent homes is going to add more capacity to the lake as well. And they don't seem to really address that. So I think I'd just like to know if it's possible, if we could get a number on how many of these buildings cottages have been removed, enlarged or whatever. So we have a number, because I'm sure that number is going to far outweigh the so-called 55 RVs that we have around there.
And bunkies that.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I just like to get that number, because that's, if the whole issue on this is about the at capacity, then this is something we should be going after, not the actual RVs. You know, I just like to get that number.
If I may, I've said it before. If they're saying it's at capacity and there is no capacity for any building, that means no building permits, zero. You can't tear down your cottage and build a mega house. You can't build a bunkie. Can't add an addition. I mean, it's got to be one way or the other, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I'd just like to get that number so then we can say, look, if we're saying there's been 100 buildings tore down and rebuilt since the mid 80s, that's a lot more impact than 50 RVs are going to have that are properly septic, you know. Anyways, the number I think we should have.
I think Murph did you have something yet to add?
Yeah, I just want to point out something else that maybe I interpreted incorrectly, but something in the language there suggests that you can't even, if you had a trailer on your property, you couldn't stay in it for the summer or stay in it for a couple of weeks. It kind of says only a short period of time. I got to reread this, but it doesn't even allow you to put a trailer on your lot and spend the summer there.
Okay, so if I may, I think my suggestion would be, let's give administrative direction to Annette to ask Mark to join us on the 20th. And if he could even give us numbers of, say, the last 10 years of tear downs and rebuilds, I think that would give us an idea of what Jack is asking for.
Yeah.
Brent, you had your hand up?
No, I agree with that. Both what Jack had discussed and what Jen had said is that I'd be interested, especially if it is a construction permit, to give you your square footage of your increase as well. So I think this is all valuable information that definitely help out. But I also want to address that this is also like our bylaw. Not specifically to the Bell Baker, specifically like the letter we just got, but our bylaw is for the whole township as well. And that's something that this council is addressing as well, is that we're, in my opinion, saying that it's a recreational vehicle. It's not a structure. And I think Mark does have the capacity to determine if the building code does apply or not. And I think the bylaw that we're proposing, I think really clarifies really what a recreational vehicle is and the use across the whole township. And I'm really intrigued to see the responses over the next month in the public consultation as well. But no, I would like to see, especially the increase of development or any of the development of changes pertaining specifically to Lake Clear as well at the next meeting. So I agree with you, Jen, and I agree with you, Jack, as well.
Merv, you still have something?
Just a little help, if it can be a little helpful here. I've been down this road before, and MPAC actually determines or has a definition of what a structure is. I don't know if there's any other legislation that has determined what a structure is, but that's what MPAC goes by, whether it pays taxes or not.
The chief building code.
And one thing, guys, we've been thinking about this since the day we've taken on these seats with this current council. And it's always went back and forth in my mind on what's really happening here. And I always keep coming up with the same response.
We lost Jen.
Yeah.
If someone was truly concerned about the well-being of the lake, they probably wouldn't even live at it themselves. So there's always seems to be a little bit more behind what's going on than what really is, because if they truly cared that the quality of the lake was the most important in their arguments, they wouldn't probably step foot in it if they were to truly believe in that. There's always some sort of, I say a hint of, I don't like the looks of something that's been going on a lot of the times in what our actual debate and argument has been about for the last few years. So it's a tough hurdle to jump over sometimes. And is Jen gone in that?
Yes, so hopefully she's going to come back. I just texted her. Oh, there she is. Not sure what happened there.
Technology.
Sorry, guys, Zoom just kicked me out. It just decided, nope, you don't deserve to be part of this meeting anymore.
So the direction is to get Mark in the next time and take this on at the next meeting, correct?
That's what I have.
Okay.
And let's make sure he's got a copy of this letter.
Yes. Yes.
But the other thing that we need to discuss, and I think we should do it with Mark in the room, is the scathing email we got yesterday about this being blanket wide, because I'm not sure why we would do one for one and one for another at capacity or not at capacity. You would still always be concerned about the environment of the lake, in my opinion.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
I actually need staff direction on the last two items of correspondence as well.
Okay, so the letter from North Dakota first?
If you were done with that item. Yes, please.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. So what would council like to do with the direction, or what direction would we like to take for the letter of North Dakota Watercourse with the CPO agreement?
It's good.
We can.
Yeah, everything is good?
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
And county,
The County of Renfrew property request, we probably should have discussed with Jason, but I don't see that it's that big an issue. If you look at the map, it's not very much land.
I did give Jason a copy of it. So
Okay.
he has seen it. Yeah, he didn't seem to have any issues with it. But I can discuss it with him again before we get back to him if he has issues with it. But if council's okay with myself responding to them and letting them know that we're good, I'll discuss with Jason one more time before I do that.
everybody's good?
Knowing what they took here in front of our house and seeing the map of this 3401 Flymount Road, it's really not a lot of land.
Okay.
No, and it's to better the roadway, right, to make it safer, so.
Absolutely.
Excellent, so if that's it, you've got your direction there now?
I do, thank you.
Super, okay, shall we move on to new and unfinished business? And we'll go ahead with you, Jen, with the mayor's report.
Okay, so I don't have a lot because I obviously
I think you're frozen. You're,
You're freezing there, Jen.
That definitely isn't a lot.
Sort of been on vacation. So I wanted to touch on the
You-
Just
changes.
1 second there, Jen.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Okay, you might have to start over again there, Jen. Your audio went out right from the start
she's still a bit frozen.
and froze. Yeah, everybody else is still moving.
Jack,
along
is she
good.
frozen for you as well?
Yeah, she's frozen for me as well. She should probably log out and log back in.
Yeah, we'll give you a second there, Jen, if you want to go off and on again, because as I can see, everybody else on Zoom is functioning the way they should.
She may not be hearing us as well.
Like she's froze.
Should tell Dave to stop watching John Wick.
Oh, there she went.
Oh, perfect.
There we go.
Wonderful technology.
When it works.
Mm.
But so far, everyone's been fine to hear both Brent and Tim.
How about you, Sandra? You usually have a hard time with the lower voices there. Everything good?
So. It's not bad. Just you come in and out sometimes for me.
Okay. Jack give me the big thumb up, so that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so for some reason, this is not our internet. This is my Zoom. I don't know why. Sorry, guys. Can you all hear me now?
Everything
Yes.
good.
All right, just to start off, I reported last month about the vaccine protocols, how they were holding half of the vaccines in abeyance for the booster. That has since changed. They are confident that Moderna and Pfizer will be able to roll out in time for everybody to have their booster. In fact, one of the very first people to get it was a PSW in Toronto, and she got her booster the other day. So we'll keep our fingers crossed at that. I did have a pre-budget meeting at the county yesterday, which I will report on at our February meeting, because of course by then we will have done budget at the county. I also have my first Board of Health meeting on Friday, which should be very interesting. Now, with regards to this year, I think since we had some successes last year with certain things that we did, i.e. Canada Day, some of the stuff around McCrae Park, I think that we continue to forge ahead and make plans and budget for some of these things. I know that the Community Development Group, I have a meeting with them tomorrow. They're going to go ahead with some of the stuff at McCrae Park, with the murals, with the fishing dock. So I think that all of those things will certainly help keep our spirits up. I think that we need a little normalcy in our lives. And so I want to make sure that when we're in budget, that we continue to ensure that we keep our eye on the ball. Also, Annette and I had discussed the South Korean visit, the day in Bonashir Valley. I think that we forge ahead and hopefully find a date, maybe at the end of the summer, to make that happen, depending on what happens between now and the end of January. Over the holidays, we had many successes with our It Takes a Village Facebook site and with our Help at BV COVID email. A lot of people were helped by these sites that were in dire need of all sorts of different things, dump runs, plumbers, food, gifts for the kids. It is amazing to me the humanity that has come out of such a horrible year. I think that our community really came together and really they really came to the party. We should probably either at this meeting or maybe at our January 20th meeting. And again, I apologize for moving that meeting. I do have budget at the county on the 18th and 19th. And as the chair of finance and admin, I chair those meetings. So obviously that's why I had to move our end of January meeting, and I apologize for that. But perhaps at that January 20th meeting, if we know that the county budget is going to be ratified the following week, then perhaps we can set some budget dates for ourselves so that everybody is able to organize their schedule. I know that there's been a lot of back and forth on social media and in fact emails about the MPs and MPPs vacationing out of the country. I can assure you that I didn't even go to Toronto. Thanks, Merv. It was a big deal. You know, starting off with Rod Phillips, our Minister of Finance, who did resign from that post. And I know that a lot more have come out. Again, we try to lead by example, and I appreciate everybody staying put. It came down this morning that our long-term energy plan requirements, which are every 3 years, Greg Rickford, our minister, has actually repealed that, and they will come up with a new plan for our long-term energy plan requirements. We do have Roma at the end of the month, and I have 2 delegations with Steve Clark. We were not granted a delegation with Sylvia Jones, the Minister of the Solicitor General, who is in charge of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. There was an email sent out during the Christmas holidays that plan would need to be done by July 1st of this year. My question at the Bear Pit is going to be to Minister Jones as to what they're hoping to get out of this community safety and well-being plan, because I have still not been able to figure out what the metrics are. And I have spoken to colleagues across Eastern Ontario, and they have not seen any good effect of this. Again, it should be an OPP initiative. I said cheekily that when you phone 911, right now they say police, ambulance, or fire. I don't believe they're ever going to say police, ambulance, or mental health. If you have a mental health issue in your home, I know right now the OPP are being called, and I'm not sure how this plan is going to change that. I think that I do have on Thursday a meeting with a new initiative in Bonachere Valley about some mental health initiatives. So hopefully I'll be able to report to you about that at our January 20th meeting, and perhaps that will sort of satisfy this plan, at least having some resources in our immediate community. That's basically all I have right now. Stay tuned for my February report. It should be a bit better than this, but that's what happened over the Christmas holidays. So if anybody has any questions. Oh, and I should say that I was interviewed by the leader about last year. And I will say that, you know, between council and staff, I think that despite COVID, we did have a lot of successes. You know, the bridge got done, Canada Day was a success. And again, a lot of beautification, the quilt, the little library, you know, all sorts of things that went on to boost people, to boost their happiness during such a weird time. And that's all I have for right now. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Greg, any questions? Nope. Murph?
No, what Jen was talking about there about civilians reporting or taking some of the mental health cases. Look what happened a week or so ago with the 3 officers, where the 3 officers were stabbed and whatnot by a mental person. I mean, can you send somebody unarmed and untrained into that? That's ridiculous.
No, and I think our OPP are our front line, and I think that they've taken some training to help those in need. Yeah. And again, sending a civilian in but my cheeky response to this does not change. There's 911 is still going to ask you police, ambulance, or fire.
Yep. And if you've ever had to deal with severely mental health people, they feel no pain. They're stronger than a couple of people if you have to handle them.
Anything there, Jack?
You're on mute.
Jack, you're muted.
Nothing, Tim, no.
Okay, I have a couple of questions, Jen. Back to the General Hillier distribution of the vaccinations, since they've been giving you some good information. I'm just wondering, Jen, had he or anybody from the top down given a reason why that there was a week's holidays on the vaccine distribution in a 2-week period? Did they give any reason for that? Because from good sources, I've heard that they had 7 days of holidays off when they were trying to get vaccinations out between Christmas and New Year's. And in a time of a pandemic such as this, I don't think it's the time to start taking a break from it, is it?
I believe it was only 5 days, but only, I'm using only as in, no, I don't agree with that, but I think that there was, and I cannot confirm this, so don't quote me on it, but I believe that this was the time when they were saying, look, we've got 50,000 vaccines. We've given, sorry, let's not use 50. We've got 20,000 vaccines. We've given 10. Do we give out the other 10, or do we hold them until those people need boosters 21 days later? So I know that they were meeting quite a bit over the holidays, but do I have a definitive answer for you? No, I don't. I will say the province has been fairly forthcoming with us, but I don't have a definitive answer for you.
Okay, no, and I didn't know.
Great question.
If there was any way we could kind of find out too, because I've been asked that as well.
Would you, if you allow me, I've got my first Board of Health meeting on Friday, so I should know better then, and perhaps be able to give some information about when we will roll out in our long-term care homes or to our frontline workers or paramedics, etc., here in Renfrew County. So maybe I can give you a dual report.
Thanks, Jen. And the other thing I did too hear about, the amount of people traveling abroad from a highly elected point of, anyway, as the MPs, MPPs and such, it's been very discouraging to a lot of people, and it creates a lot of doubt, and it puts a lot of, if I can say the words, blows a lot of holes in their fearship when they're telling everybody to lock down and stay with their immediate family, and they're jumping onto basically a tube with 200 other people and taking off to a southern vacation. So glad everybody here has stayed to their own area of what they were supposed to, but like I say, it takes a lot of credibility out of what they're telling us from the top down. And as you say many times, Jen, we're a creature of the province here at a municipal level. When they don't stick to their own guns, it's pretty hard for us to enforce them. When you look at our outdoor rink and we have to have restrictions on it, and you see what's going on all across Canada at this point in time. And I really stress this mental health helpline out there. It's a great thing, to have for people, Jen, because where do people turn when you take them out of their normal routine? And when they turn on social media and they see people getting tasered for playing hockey on an outdoor rink in a certain municipality, I know it's within Canada, it's not within Bonshire Valley, but it can create a lot of stress for a lot of people. Somebody was visiting their mom in Quebec basically for New Year's Eve, but that was a little bit overthrown too. So no, it's a very trying time. Thanks for pointing that out or bringing that to attention. And I just like to thank the rest of council for doing what they have over the holidays. But like I say, it's a tough time to sell what the province is making us push out there when they're not adhering to their own rules themselves.
Well, and to your point, Tim, you know, one of the biggest frustrations and one of our biggest tourist attractions here in the valley is Calabogie Peaks. And to allow people to go tobogganing, and I don't know if anybody checked out some of the parks in Toronto over the holidays where the toboggan hills were packed with people. And I'm not talking 2 or 3 families, I'm talking 300 families, but we're not allowed to put 2 people on a ski lift safely. Makes no sense to me. And so to your point, when the province is giving us rules and sending them down through our health units, but then MPs and MPPs are, and not only here in Ontario, all over Canada, they're leaving the province, they're going to Hawaii, they're leaving the country, I'm sorry, you know, going to St. Bart's, going wherever, you know, that puts us, the 5 of us and all of our colleagues into question. And so when I was questioned, did you go to Toronto? I actually put it on my social media because there was no way I was going to take the heat for something that Dave and I literally decided like a month and a half ago that we weren't going to do for exactly this reason. So thank you.
No, and I appreciate that for sure, because like I say, we have to, and I don't want to use this term enforce the rules, but we kind of have to abide by and enforce rules that are pushed down from the top to us. And a lot of residents would question, you know, why we're doing so. And it's tough for me to give a legitimate reason or a backup to my response when they're not doing it themselves. And no, you're absolutely right. It was right across the country. It was actually very disappointing because it wasn't just one political party, it was them all. It was from every color out there, so to speak, from the upper tier right down to you know, the backbenchers, so to speak. So it makes our job a lot harder here at council to present something that they've blown holes into. And I hope that maybe they'll catch wind of our conversation, even at what we're saying right now, as to take that into consideration, you know, when they do these things, you know, and maybe in the future, because it definitely didn't look very good. Thanks, Tim. So anything else for Jen on that? Well, we're good? Okay. So we're going to go on to item number 2 in new and unfinished business. Draft bylaw, snow, ice, water on roadways. My computer just shut off.
We are not having good luck with technology today.
So that was put onto the agenda by Annette.
So this is a bylaw just to assist us with some residents who are either depositing snow or whether it's water that's been redirected to our sidewalks and our roads, which of course at this time of year is turning into ice. And so that's costly because whether we have to steam it or, you know, apply salt and sand or whatever we have to do, we have to maintain our roads and sidewalks for the public and for everyone's safety. So this is just, it's a bylaw to ensure that we have the authority to basically send letters and discuss with our residents to say, you know, here's why you can't do this. And, you know, it gives us a little bit of teeth so that they understand we're not just asking, this really is a health and safety risk. And it is costing. It's costing all the residents if we have to fix these issues that are not created by us. So we're looking for council's support for the bylaw to give us a little bit of teeth when any of these issues come up, so that we can deal with them. And if the committee agrees to the draft bylaw, then we'll bring it forth to council at the January 20th meeting for consideration at that time. And it has been reviewed by our solicitor as well. Just to make sure. So
okay,
that's
so
the report.
I'll ask council if you would like to push that forward.
So go ahead, Murph. Sorry.
I just thought that was a standing bylaw because we went through this every year. I thought it was an automatic standing bylaw. Yeah, I'm supportive.
So if I may, I think that, you know, our previous road super, I'm sure our current road super, I know I've spoken to residents that putting snow onto a roadway is actually against the Highway Traffic Act. So I'm in support of this because I think what it does is it says, no, we're following again what the province is telling us, and ice and water with some of our people out walking right now, just trying to get outside, get some exercise. This could be very dangerous and costly. So thank you.
Just to follow up to that, you're absolutely right. It is against the Highway Traffic Act. However, the Highway Traffic Act specifically speaks to snow, and there are fines of $1,000 for that. But instead of just laying fines, we would like to be able to also, deal with it and fix any issues that are actually causing the problem. So it just gives us a little bit more teeth, and then we don't have to call out the OPP, and we can deal with it ourselves if we need to. So a little bit more teeth to be able to sort of address this issue if it comes up, because it does affect everybody. So that's.
And this might be another way, if I don't remember seeing it in the last newsletter, but just as a gentle reminder to all the residents, would that be appropriate to put, please don't push snow across the roadways in our newsletters when it comes into the snow season, just to kind of update the new people coming in as well, that, maybe someone moved in from an area that never had to plow their driveway before, or from an apartment, or from whatever. And it might be a good way to educate the people before we have to try and give them slap on the head.
Yes, and we advertise it in the paper every year, and so we try to make sure that people are aware, and we're not looking to use the teeth in the bylaw unless we absolutely have to. But it sort of gives direction for if somebody says, well, what gives you the right to ask me to do this or to tell me to do this? Then I can say, well, the authority that we have in order to ask you to do this is by bylaw. So it's also by the Highway Traffic Act, but it's also by bylaw. So we're asking, but please do the best to make sure everybody's safe. That's all we want to ensure.
I like it.
Thumbs up.
Everybody in favor?
Yep.
Yep. Perfect. Okay, and the county official plan amendment review, item number 3.
Good job on this. I have no doubt these public meetings will be very intense.
Yes, I think the county's come up with a very good sort of compromise between the province and the provincial policy statements and sort of the direction that's been given, but also the, basically the pushback from local municipalities to ensure that we continue to grow. So I think it's a work in progress, and I was very impressed with what came forward from the county with the suggestions. So.
Well, the 1 kilometer sterilization around places with water and sewer, etc., that just did not fly with county council. I'll tell you that. That was one heated discussion.
Yeah, I would direct anybody watching this to go back to the county council meeting where that was discussed to review that. I think that was the end of November.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a good portion of the meeting, so stick with it. If for those watching, it was very interesting.
Yes.
And basically affects virtually every single one of the 17 municipalities, almost.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 4. Request for road allowance closure and sale.
Tim, can you speak up just a bit?
Yeah, they're losing you. Maybe make sure your light's still on.
Maybe I turned it off. Turn it back.
Oh, and
No,
Jen, can you hear Tim well still? Yeah, we can't hear you.
You're getting quieter as the meeting goes on.
there, how's that?
Much better, thank you.
Okay, I'll just use.
Sandra, thumbs up if you can hear him.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Brent says he can hear me loud and clear, so that's good. So there we go. On to the request for road allowance closure and sale. So Annette, would you like to fill us in on that?
I can, sure. So this request is something that was requested a few years ago and came actually with the last council and has now come back around because the previous council, there was a building that was built on an unopened road allowance and onto another resident's property. And so council at that time chose, we're not going to deal with closing and transferring, selling, or what's going to happen with the road allowance until the ratepayer dealt with, what was going on with the adjacent property owner, which it was a good plan for sure. So they went ahead, they've received a court order, so they now own property on both sides of the road allowance that they wish to close and wish to purchase. And like I said, the building is already there and has been in existence since 1955. So the request that has come forward is what they would like to do is they would like to request that council stop up and close that small portion of the road allowance and transfer it to the only adjacent property owner now. And so that's sort of what's on the table. And then the other request in the letter, I guess, was discussed back in 2018 before the election, was waiving of the fees of the closure and purchase of the road allowance. So myself, knowing that it's already there and it's kind of been there since 1955 and it's kind of a cleanup of title, I can support that request if that is what council would like to do. But I would say, not in the interest of paying any fees. Like, it's not going to cost us anything. The individual who's made the request should, I think, pay all transfer costs and lawyer fees and if survey costs and all that kind of stuff. But as far as any additional fees to get this cleanup sort of done, I could support that if that's what council chooses to do. And so his solicitor is looking for us to get back to him with an answer. I know that the adjacent property owner is not in support of this, the one whose property was taken under the court order. So I'm sure once this course has to be advertised and we have to bring it forward and we have to have notice and all of that kind of stuff. So we may hear from that individual, as I already have. And we had a conversation about it, and it's just one of those situations where, the court order has been issued. The previous council sort of made a promise that if this did go through, yes, we would look into it and transfer and close the road allowance. So it's come to the current council to decide whether we want to proceed with that. And if so, then at this point, all we'd be proceeding with is the advertisement of the meeting where we're going to discuss that closure bylaw and that transfer. So that's.
One thing also, Annette, that come to my mind, looking at the chunk on the road, there was a building permit issued for this building, yes, correct, in 1955. So by South Laguna. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct. And also the road, the way the road goes, so it's Wolf Road, if anybody's curious, if you were looking at it, but it's a forced road now. So the chances of us opening the road allowance into a road right beside another road, pretty slim. And it is not denying access to anybody, any of their properties.
Okay, I have Merv and Jack.
I had a call in November from the adjoining or abutting property owner, and he assured me that he wouldn't have any objection to this going ahead at that time. But we're going to, there's a lot of these things. If you can visualize Wolf Road from O'Connor, from the intersection of O'Connor and Ruby, it runs a straight line through the swamp and it's on the right spot, but then it does a veer to the right. And so I know places, I don't know whether it's ever corrected or not, there are places where a road allowance runs between the house and the barns. There's a lot of these, they built them in those days.
So basically what you're saying, Merv, is we're just basically cleaning a house here, like cleaning
it up. Yeah.
Cleaning up. Okay, Jack, you had something?
Yeah, the only thing is, Merv sort of answered my question, but just to clarify, the adjacent landowner right now, once the court order is in place, the person that's buying the road allowance owns both sides of the road allowance, or both pieces of property. Is that correct in that?
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah. So realistically, even if the adjacent landowner wants to raise an issue, we're just doing what we normally do as a township. If a person owns both pieces of property, and they want to buy the road allowance, we're selling it to them. So.
Yes, the only difference that we're doing is we're waiving the fees. It's not costing us anything,
Yeah.
but we're waiving the fees because we did issue the building permit. It is a bit of a cleanup.
How long is that piece of road anyways?
It's very small.
Very small, Jack, very small.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Quarter of an acre? I'm just guessing. Maybe.
I was gonna say quarter of an acre by looking at it. I
It
didn't
says a
think
third
that-
of an acre, but I'm just running, because they only pay a linear foot of the road allowance anyways. So I'm just wondering how much of the road allowance is it, like 200 feet or 100 feet? What is it?
Yeah,
I'm trying to
it
figure it out for scale.
it would be minimal. Like if
Yeah.
we have a minimum, that's what it would be. It's very small.
Yeah, because I was trying to figure it out from the graph and I couldn't get the points to coordinate exactly how many feet it is, but I'm fine with it.
Jen, you had something to add?
Yeah, I'm fine with it as well. I know that every year for the last 10 years of doing this, we run into these housekeeping things from pre-amalgamation all the time. And it's a shame, you know, when property owners are in dispute with adjacent landowners and they have to spend money on legal, etc. You know, it is a real shame, but that's, as Merv said, that's the way it was done. You know, with chains and a handshake. And so now we need to make sure that we do right by our ratepayers, especially since that house has been there since 1955. So yes, I'm in support of this. Thank you.
And
Speaking of that, Jen.
it's the shed that we're in discussion of, the building that's on it. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
So,
Not that-
no, I agree with that too. So what, if I just made a quick recap, we're waiving the municipal fees, but if there's any other fees when it comes to surveying and such, the landowner is responsible for that, correct?
Responsible for costs. Yeah.
Thanks, Annette.
Not that, just on a side, not that long ago, he was a friend of mine, built a new house on Ruby Road and put the swimming pool on the township property.
That's a community pool.
I mean, we straightened that out, I don't know, about 9-10 years ago now, but anyway.
That's a shame. We could use a pool.
So basically, Merv, does that answer your response to for adding to the agenda, just a discussion on that letter? You okay with that?
Yeah, I just wanted to, if anybody had any questions, I could maybe visually point them to what happened. I mean, the road allowance went straight, but the forest road took off to the right. And so everybody said, well, this is the road, I can build up to the road.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
But there are a number of them out there. I
I'm
suspect
sure we'll probably see some more in our future council.
No doubt.
Okay, so that pretty well wraps it up. So if we'd like to establish our next meeting date, which is, I don't have it wrote down in front of me, but it's
January
so
20th.
January.
Again, my apologies. You know what I meant to ask? Tim, did you want to have an EGC meeting on that morning?
Yeah,
Or
10:30.
Committee and council?
What kind of a slate is on our next agenda? Do we know yet? Is it a big one? It really matters not. I believe I'll be available in the morning as well then. I think we can do an EGC if everybody else is good for that at 10:30 then.
Do you want to wait and see what the agenda looks like closer to the date?
Yeah, and we can be very flexible with that too, so.
For sure, absolutely. It's the call of the chair, so
Yeah,
you want to call it for 10:30 or you want to call it for 3:30, but I think you'll know better by sort of the week before.
absolutely.
We do have a delegation at that meeting, which always tends to make meetings go longer. So I'll just point that out now.
Yeah.
What's the delegation at?
Wayfinders.
on.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, that does make a difference.
So maybe when the agenda gets sent out on the Wednesday, we just confirm on the Thursday? Does that work?
Yeah, we'll make sure we have notice, but as it stands, we'll just pencil it in for 10:30 on that date, on January 20th. How does that sound?
Okay.
Okay. So there's no media here, of course. So I guess can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
At 5:30.
By Jen. Everybody in favor? Perfect. See you at 5:30.
5:30, guys.